All right. What is up, Wizards fans and or true psychopaths who are still with us at this late on a Saturday night, watching Wizards post game after they lose by almost 20 points, 135 to 116. Brendan, I felt better about this game overall than the Boston game. Maybe I'm
Yeah.
just in a better headspace today, but they were good for the full first half, and the young guys played a ton, and there were some like real bright spots to take away from what we saw overall.
Yeah, and there were a lot of points where I felt like they could have dug a little bit more into some of the leads that the Cavs had, but then Donovan
Sure.
Mitchell hit you with a step back three, and it was like, okay, that's the end of that. But yeah, man, I mean, this was a game where they were still very, very competitive. Bilal
Mhm.
Coulibaly, much more aggressive than what we
Yep.
saw the other night. Was attacking the rim, getting to the free throw line again, had a nice and one. Um, Carrington had some nice moments. Sarr had some nice moments. So, I mean, yeah, man. Again, it's just one of those things where you're going to have to try and find small things to take away positively, especially with these young players that, our key
Mhm.
players that we're going to keep going forward are mostly rookies. I mean, we have three of them. We got to remember that. And then obviously,
Bilal's basically a rookie,
right.
honestly.
Exactly. So again, it's just about finding the small things. Kuzma again tonight. Um,
Yeah.
he was more aggressive. Yeah,
It's a
he
thing that
was.
happened. Yeah,
Yeah.
that that
Um,
did take place.
Jordan Poole only, 9 shot attempts after saying that we would like him to keep up the aggressiveness.
I thought he was good though, Brendan. Like to be fair, I think he was
Yeah.
definitely not the problem tonight.
Yes.
And they just didn't play him a ton after the game was like plus 22 or 23 points at a certain point. It was just like, all right, you're done for the night, Jordan.
Right. And he shot the 3 pointer again really,
Yeah,
really well, 4 of 7,
mhm,
which you'll take that any given
every
night
time.
from
Yeah,
almost any player,
yep.
unless you're like, Clay Thompson and you're wide open. Um, so really good output from him on the 3 point line. And again, I think we'd rather, and this is what I wanted to see a little bit more from Poole this year too. And to your point, this is a good thing because I'd rather see him go 4 of 9
Hmm.
than 4 of 19.
Yep.
So it's better to just pick and choose your shots a little bit better, be a little bit more selective, because I think that that's where a lot of Wizards fans got frustrated with them last year. Was
Exactly.
he would just try to put up a shot to put up a shot, and it's just, if you want to win over this fan base, especially when we're rebuilding, so we don't really care who comes and goes, you need to be a
Hmm.
little bit more selective about where you find your shots.
Yeah, on a night where like Kuzma is effectively on some bullshit again, seeing Poole not force things was actually like really refreshing. And
Yeah.
honestly, pretty good wizard. Like he played 24 minutes. If he plays 33 minutes at the same efficiency, it's probably one of his better Wizards games, so far. Just before we get too far into it, we're brought to you by Stateside Vodka and their Surfside Hard Teas, Hard Lemonades. Also brought to you by Bet Online. It's your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season. You can bet on games like this, probably the over/under/point spread for the Wizards every night is probably an interesting one to place some bets on. Get the latest stats, news, and scores available from your favorite teams. Try the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports. Head to the website today to use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet online where the game starts. Uh, Brendan, is this the best game Bilal Coulibaly has played in a Wizards uniform?
Um, I think it's got to be up there. I mean, especially when you consider his role this year compared to last year, where I think this year, and especially after we saw game one and we watched preseason, he's going to have a lot more of ball handling and play initiating responsibilities. So naturally, we want to see a little bit more of an
Sure.
uptick. But with that comes defensive strategy against you.
Mm-hmm.
Last year where Koulibaly was basically just a spot up shooter,
Yeah, nobody
like
was
a
scouting anything
free
from him.
player, and this year he's a playmaker. He's going to hurt you at the mid range. He's going to try to get to the rim. He'll shoot the three ball as we saw tonight, over what is that? For like 40, 40, 44, 45% from the 3 point line is what he shot tonight. So, you'll take that every time too. So I think that when you look at, the context within the game that he had, it may just be his best game that he's played. And I certainly think that we're going to see a lot more games. I'm sure this won't be the last time we're having this conversation this season. I think we're going to have a lot more
Yep.
bright moments from him.
Yeah, the thing tonight I enjoyed honestly was that like in the Boston game when it became like a 35-point blowout, I was like, why are the vets still in? And tonight they didn't come back in. And you saw Coulibaly get 35 minutes. Again, if you're listening to this post game and you didn't watch the game, Coulibaly was 9 of 16 from the field, 4 of 9 from 3. That's 44% to Brennan's point there. He had 6 rebounds, 1 assist, no steals, no blocks, which isn't going to happen for Coulibaly very often.
No.
I had 3 turnovers, which was fine because they were like in pursuit of him being aggressive. So I'll take what we got from him like literally every single night. If he does this more times than not, I mean, he's not going to have 23 points every night, but like if we get this Coulibaly for the rest of the year, I will literally never complain about it.
Yeah, and you definitely want to see him like continue. Like, I know people are going to try and place caps on players because they're trying to be realistic and reasonable. But my expectation is I want him to be the best damn basketball player like I've ever watched. Yeah. So like, and that's how I am with I want all of our guys to be the best damn basketball player I've
French
ever
Scottie
watched.
Pippen or bust. Let's go, baby.
Right. And I think that Bilal, though, seriously, I mean, with his traits and his two-way ability and two-way potential, I mean, I want him to be an all-star level player eventually. Dare I say all NBA? I know some people say that's wild. I want him to get there, and I think that he can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, why not? You know, we saw enough. Like, this gave me a little more hope of those things being possible because for me, it was always the mindset.
Yes.
But you saw like enough aggression tonight of like, oh, okay, like, all right, oh, he's letting them fly. Like,
and he has some
hesitate.
Attitude to his game too. It's low key, but he's got some attitude to his game that I like. He's got some feistiness to him.
For those of you who don't know this, Brendan is a knockdown jump shooter, so he'll be able to relate to what I'm about to say. But you can't shoot at a high level when you're thinking about your shot every time you take it. And I think that's what we saw from Coulibaly, at least for the second half of last year. Tonight, they just went up. Like, there was no hesitation. I'm not thinking about it. Like, I didn't, take an extra dribble when I didn't need to. Like, it just went up, and you saw better results. And I think there's a lesson in there for him of just let him fly, young man. Like, let him keep going up.
I do like, though, there was one time where he had taken a couple threes in a row and he had missed. And he had the ball in the middle of the court, and Alex Sarr gave him the ball at the top of the key. And he's like, wait a minute. No. I've taken 2 in a row and it hasn't worked. And he stepped in and he took a mid-range off the screen. And although it didn't go in, but I like the mindset where he was at. Like, you can't think about your shot like you were saying, but at the same time, you do have to have that awareness of, okay, if I can maybe try and get a better shot, let's maybe try and work that out. So that's one of those things there where there wasn't necessarily production, but I like the thought process. He tries to think when he's on the court, but it's not like a bad thing. It's a good thing.
Trying to do the right thing because there are a lot of guys that aren't being unselfish. So I think he's filling some gaps there too. And when I say like he was more aggressive, it's obviously like that's not every play, but tonight it was the exception and not the rule. And I feel like it had been the inverse, for most of his Wizards tenure. So I was cool with this. It never makes no sense. Said Bilal had a stretch where he took over the Spurs last year. That was also up there. I remember that. And Nomadic Brian said Bilal looked like he had a good night. He definitely did. Ben said he played good night, still had a few shots where he was hesitant to shoot, but loved how aggressive he was. Totally agree. Highlight Haven said Bilal shows very similar traits to a young Giannis. Honestly, a fair comparison if you ask me. Hopefully, like Giannis, Bilal can bulk up. I think he's still more wing than forward with Giannis, where he's like more forward center. But I get the point of like he's got elite physical traits. It's just can he continue to fill in around the margins like Giannis has done so well.
Like there's skills right now that Bilal has that I don't even think Giannis still has.
No, I agree. He's already a better shooter.
Right. And it's not to say that we're comparing and saying that he's as good or better than Giannis. That's not what we are trying to say. Just trying to be clear on that for the people listening. But I think that he's a little bit more of a 3-level threat to score the ball. He's probably going to be a little bit better of a ball handler than Giannis is. He'll be a little bit more of a play initiator. To where Giannis is strictly like a high-low post or ISO to try and get his buckets. As to where Bilal, I think you can see a little bit more diversity with how he's going to score the basketball in this league.
Yeah, Giannis is also just like a Hulk. Like he's a 1 of 1 on how big he got. And I feel how gets that bulky and still stays that athletic. More power to him. Just switching to our power forward center here tonight in Alex Sarr. 4 of 10 from the field, 2 of 6 from 3, had 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 2 blocks, no turnovers. 12 points. Like, I thought he was good tonight, but more so on the defensive end. I
Yeah.
thought he gave those guys like actual fits, and you started to see like, okay, this is the Sarr we're gonna get. Give him another year to learn how to play actual defense and bulk up. Like, look out, league.
Yeah, I mean, he again is really a guy that we're going to see impact the defensive end of the floor, especially just this first year, I think. And the offense is just kind of like, as
Mhm.
long as he doesn't like in preseason, for example, I think that he was taking shots, but the shots he were taking were not the best. As to where I think that what we've seen so far in the regular season, most of his shot selection has actually been good. He's been open; they just haven't gone
Wide
in.
open jumpers, yeah.
And you have to live with that, and you can't tell your player to not shoot that, because you need him to be confident in shooting those, because you're going to need that down the line, and not even just this season, but 2, 3, 4, 5+ years down the line. And of course, I think we're going to see progression there. Hopefully we do anyway. But you need him to be confident in shooting those jumpers. So I like that, even though again we're not seeing the production, and the shots aren't going in, but you still need to see that he has the confidence to take those jumpers in the game, because if he starts hesitating and pulling his punches, well, teams are going to strategize around that, and now you've limited not only yourself but the four other guys on the court.
Yeah, I thought the way he was playing, to me, Carrington looked a little off tonight. I'm gonna attribute it to the ankle, and there like he didn't start the second half, but he played the most minutes of any of the rookies, which was a little surprising to me. He went 2 of 8 from the floor, 2 of 4 from 3, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 turnovers. I would have liked to see maybe actually a little less Bub tonight, just because I don't know, and I don't know if you felt this way. It looked to me like the ankle was still he didn't look as sure on it maybe. Like, there were a couple moments
It
here.
looked like he was like, it just looked like there was hesitation in his game.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
to your point, it's not like they didn't have a guy that wasn't playing well, because I was about to mention Jared Butler. I thought he should
Yep.
have gotten more minutes tonight. He was like one of
Yeah,
the only
agreed.
guys, I think, with a positive plus minus in the box score. So
Mhm.
I think he definitely should have gotten more minutes when he was in there running the second unit early on in the game. It looked fluid. He had a nice double team steal on Donovan Mitchell that led to a layup
Love
in
that.
transition. He moves the ball well. He's an intelligent player. So I thought that was a guy that should have gotten more minutes.
Yeah, I'm always in the tank for Butler. I was 3 or 4 from the field, 1 of 1 from 3, 1 rebound, 3 assists, 1 steal that you mentioned was especially cool. Mitchell looked totally shocked that they doubled him on that one, and I thought that was pretty sweet. So that was more good, than bad from him. I actually liked Kyshawn George's game tonight. Actually, he played the most minutes of the rookies. I didn't even realize. He played 26 minutes. He was 0 of 7 from the field, 0 of 4 from 3, but had 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 blocks. Like, he was really active, and for him, the defense is so much better than I thought it would be at any point during his rookie year. Like, he's a legitimate plus defender on this Wizards team so far.
Yeah, I was a little worried about him initially on the defensive end of the floor, just
Yeah.
because when I watch his tape, and then
He
you
was
watch
bad at Miami, like actively bad defensively last year.
he was a very slow player that to me didn't have the laterals to be a very
Mhm.
good defender right now. I thought that was something he's going to have to hit the agility training for a couple years to really be a good defender. But he's holding his own. I think he tries to be a patient defender. And we have the cat cameos now coming up.
Yeah.
I don't know where my three are. They're somewhere. They
Yeah.
don't.
Jordan Poole's big cat energy is translating to the broadcast here.
Two of them are actually here on the floor behind me. The girl doesn't like humans, so she has
She's
her
doing her
moments
thing.
somewhere
I feel
else.
you.
Yeah.
Just hitting the last couple guys here, and then we'll wrap this thing up on the shorter end. Kispert was fine tonight, I thought. 4 of 9 from the field, 2 of 6 from 3. It is what it was. Jonas was fine, 10 and 8. He just looks so slow though. And Brendan, there was a stretch where you had Poole, who has been better defensively this year, but I don't think anyone would call him like a plus defender. Corey and Jonas all out there together, and they were just like scoring at the rim at will late in that second quarter. And I just don't ever want to see that again. And that's my problem with Jonas is he was not a good rim protector last year. He's gotten worse in the last year, and it's just tough.
Well, and I've been pretty consistent on this, and I think you've seen in our group chat that I'm not a big JV guy at all.
Yeah,
In
I'm over
today's
it.
game, I like bigs that can at least move, to help with switches, to help if you need to to be quicker on a help underneath the rim. And to me, he's just kind of a statue that needs to have a very specified role on a good team.
Mhm.
So I hope that there's a way that they can flip him down the line. But I mean, if it were up to me and if trading were, you know, not a part of the situation, then I would be playing Bagley or Holmes personally.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
I thought Bagley was pretty solid tonight, honestly. Like he didn't play meaningful minutes, but he played about 10 minutes and had 9 points and 6 rebounds in those 10 minutes. Like it was good production and he
I like
feasts
Bag.
against second units. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I like Bagley.
Yeah, I would be cool with him getting more minutes to your point over Valanciunas, but
Yeah.
if they're just gonna keep featuring Valanciunas, cool. All right, let's get to the real elephant in the room here. Uh, for the first time in the Department of Hoops history, we have a back-to-back winner of the Alexei Petrov I Get Buckets Son MVP award for the player most willing to throw up some crazy bullshit and keep shooting even though they weren't making anything. And that's Kyle Kuzma. He went 3 of 16 tonight. For anyone not good at math, that is 18.8%. He did have 8 rebounds, which I appreciated, 3 assists, which were pretty solid, no steals, no blocks, and only 1 turnover. But the shots he took were breaking my brain. And they weren't as many air balls or whatever tonight, but like the one of the baskets he made was like the hardest degree of difficulty shot anyone took tonight. And I think that's the worst thing for Kuzma sometimes because then he keeps trying crazy stuff. But he
Yeah.
was missing point blank layups. He was just throwing stuff up. Like he was atrocious offensively, I thought.
He lets that inner Mamba talk to himself
Right.
sometimes,
Yeah. Yeah.
more times often than rest in peace, Kobe, by the way. And more times often than not, that doesn't lead to good results. You may be able to get away with that when you have Bradley Beal and Porzingis to help bail you out sometimes, but
Mhm.
when you have Jordan Poole and you're not going to be able to get away with that. So
No.
um, and again, I get it. And there were still times tonight, and I mentioned this in our chat on Thursday night. There's times where he's at the elbow looking for someone, and
Mhm.
everyone's just kind of standing around waiting
That's
for him
true.
to do something.
They
I'm like,
don't cut around him well at all. I agree.
yeah. So it's not all on him, but
No.
some of the shots that he was taking, yeah. I mean, the one like three he took from Curry range off the offensive rebound when they got another possession, and that's how you waste it. Like
No, that was
it's
brutal.
just it's situational ball. I feel like he just needs to be a little bit more patient with.
Honestly, like Poole course corrected tonight, and I thought was more just like dialed in and just kind of you know a better game manager. I'd like to see more of that from Kuzma. Like you're not helping anyone unless my secret theory here is that he wants to stay in Washington, so he's tanking his own trade value, so he doesn't have to get traded somewhere he doesn't want to go to. That's my secret theory, but it's just no other explanation for a guy like we know he's a good basketball player. So for him going 3 of 16 and doing what he's doing, it looked like he was point shaving at certain points tonight.
Yeah, I mean, again, I wouldn't have re-signed the guy to begin with, and I get why they did. And at the time, it was a good contract. I still wouldn't have done it. They should have traded him last year. And it's we've been having this conversation too about the front office and uh, the trades they're willing to make versus the ones they're not. And I'm still trying to understand like what exactly their philosophy is because if you look at their trade so far,
Mhm.
it's just a little bit inconsistent. So I'm hoping we get some clarity on that. But these are conversations we'll have down the line. But in terms of trade value relative to Kyle Kuzma, and this is relevant because he's played 2 basketball games this year, and it is probably not going to go in the Wizards' favor if he continues to put up stinkers like this.
Yeah, like 2 games so far, I still think you can write off as a team willing to trade for him if you're Miami or whoever, might be interested. But when you start getting into like the 10 game range, that's a sample size at that point. So it just they got to find a way to make him more comfortable. It seemed like, it was a real priority for them last year to find a way to make Jordan Poole more comfortable. Clearly something's not working for Kuzma here and we got to see what that is. Uh just pivoting to more of the bright spots here. Alex and Adelaide said the jerseys looked all right. I really liked the jerseys tonight. Like that kit, I think is pretty cool. Something about that is just different enough to me, but still Wizards adjacent that I was all about it. How'd you feel about the jerseys, Brennan?
I like them. I will still, and people are either going to love or hate this opinion. I love the ones from last year. I wish that we could wear those every year. I love them. I got a Bilal Coulibaly one
Not
Um,
from sorry, I can't do it. I'm not with you.
love it. I love it so much, man. But I do like so I like when they go away from the red, white, and blue because it's like
Yeah, that's fair.
get that all the time, man. And we got the Nationals and the Capitals. It's like
No,
please
that's a
do
great point.
something different. Yeah.
Those the black District of Columbia jerseys, the alternates from a few years ago, are still like my maybe all-time favorite Wizards jersey. So I'm with you. Just something that's like a change of pace. Although not the gray ones. No offense to Georgetown fans. I didn't love
I
the
liked
gray.
the gold ones. I had a Gilbert
Gold were
Arena
cool.
gold one with
Yeah,
the
those were
black stars on the
the
side.
shorts. Yep.
Those. I miss those as well. I wish that we would just actually go back to the original colors. I thought the
Yeah.
red, white, and blue was going to be cool originally, but now I kind of miss it. It's a little bit more unique, you know. It's like
Yep.
nobody else had that. So anyway,
100% agree. And them bringing him back last year as a throwback only made me miss them more. So
yeah.
all right, Brendan. Anybody we didn't talk about tonight that we think or we should spend a few more minutes on as we start to wrap this thing up?
I think we just kind of like grazed over Corey, and
Mhm.
I like again Corey Kispert's a fine player, but to me, I feel like so we already know that he's probably going to be a net negative on the defensive end. And his one thing that I feel like he gets touted as on offense is a shooter. And again, it's 2 games, but to me, he has to be a more consistent shooter than what he is. He's way too hot and cold. And he
Yeah.
had a wedgie tonight. And I wish that I could keep track of the number of wedgies that he's
Feels
had
like
in
he
the
has a lot
year
because
because
it's
I
such a
feel like
flat trajectory.
it's
Like,
got to be pretty high. His shot is very, very flat.
yeah.
So, I hope that he can turn it around and be a more consistent shooter. But to me, it's like I feel when you get the contract extension, it's because you're expecting a certain amount of production. And to me, he wasn't really that great of a shooter before we signed him to the deal. So I'm just kind of like wondering in my mind what they see in Corey that warranted the extension. Again, he's a good shooter, but he's not like a sniper. Like there is a very distinct difference that I feel like a lot of people aren't able to differentiate. Like to me, I would like him to be at like 44, 45% from Trey on the season, like as an average. And I know that there's been seasons where he's even been like 35, 36. And it's like, I feel like we need more from him.
Yeah, he was 35 as a rookie, 42.4 as a sophomore, which I think that's where you want him is low 40s. And last year he was 38 on 6 attempts. I thought we'd get 40% from three plus more scoring. He was great around the rim last year. I thought those things combined would be like, oh, this is a good offensive player. But to me, he was a disaster on defense tonight. Like it looked like they were hunting him on every possession. And there were like 4 possessions in a row where he ended up with Donovan Mitchell switched onto him and just got absolutely abused, which Mitchell abuses a lot of people. So I'm not, but you got to put up some resistance. And he just can't, like for whether he doesn't or can't, it's bad. And it's like noticeably bad when he gets beat out there.
I feel like he has no like center of gravity. Like he's a big body,
Mhm.
6'8" frame is really, really good, 200 whatever pounds. But I feel like he just doesn't have center of gravity. Like it's too easy to move him out of the
Yeah.
way where we've seen guys that can be, a buck 95, 200 pounds. But if you try pushing them, they're not going to go anywhere,
Mhm.
So it's a weird dynamic with the science and how that works.
I think to your point though, for me, when I watch Corey, it's never like, okay, every time he's out there, he hits 2 of 5 3-pointers or whatever the case may be. It's like one night he goes 5 for 5, and then the next 2 nights he's like 0 for 10. Like it just it's too volatile, and that can't be your shooting specialist. Like you need that more consistent. Here he is 40%, and you're gonna get 40%. I know you can't do it every single night, but the highs are too high and the lows are too low. If that makes sense, it's too extreme.
Yeah. And again, I'm not saying he's not a fine player. I think
Sure.
he's a good enough player on this team to be a top 8 rotation player. But I just wonder if his shooting really is not like I don't want to say elite, but if it's not very good, if you're looking to trade him to a contender, what contender is going to want to take on a 6'8" forward that can play defense and may or may not be good at 3-point shooting? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, sure. You're limited. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna try every one of these to just wrap myself up at the end of this episode, these episodes with like 3 rapid fire. Here were my positive takeaways. So for me, the aggressiveness from Bilal Coulibaly is obviously a positive takeaway. The defense from Alex Sarr was obviously a positive takeaway. And then Kyshawn George, again, to me, like 0 for 7 from the field, but still found ways to be impactful. And I wondered about that with him. Like, I thought the shooting was the immediate thing that would translate for him. And I was questioning what else would be, brought to the table from him from day one. Like, he obviously had some passing chops and things like that, but I didn't know that he'd be like confident enough to put the ball on the floor as much as he is. So the fact that he had the 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 blocks, like, I love that. So shout out to them. And you don't have to give 3 if you want. Brendan, you're welcome to do that if you want, but just at least one, circle back to this was my big positive takeaway from tonight.
I'll say Jordan Poole's patience.
Okay, it's a great one too.
Alex Sarr's defense. I got away from Bilal because I think he was by and far clearly the biggest bright spot.
Yeah.
And I'll go ahead and give Kyshawn George another shout out. I think his ability to impact the game on both ends and put up numbers in the box score on both ends is going to be something valuable and something that we really haven't had here in quite some time.
Yep. And shout out Bub, he powered through it. At the very least, he's built Baltimore tough, so we appreciate that from him.
Tough. He's tough, and he competes the entire time. And that is, again, something that is very refreshing.
Yeah, that was not lip service from them, during the preseason of like, oh, he's the most competitive guy on the team. Like, you can tell. And someone, maybe it was Garland, somebody put a shoulder into his chest tonight and he moved him a little bit, but then he was immediately right back up in their face. And you're just like, all right, this is my rookie. This is what I'm going to rock with.
You need resiliency, especially in young players, because there's a lot of young players that I feel like have talent coming into the league, and for one reason or another, maybe more psychological than anything, and they're never able to just get themselves back on their feet to being a productive player. And I feel like Bub is not going to be one of those players. Bub is always going to compete. I think he's always going to have the right mindset, and the numbers may or may not be there. The production may or may not be there some nights, but he's going to compete his ass off, and I think at a minimum, that'll keep him on an NBA roster probably his entire career until he decides to hang it up. So you need guys like that. Shout out Patrick Beverley.
That's right. Yeah, he's cooking in some foreign country this year too with that competitiveness too. Brendan, where can people find the podcast? Like, where can they find more content from you?
Yeah, man. Wizards of the Gallery Place podcast. Check us out. We had kind of a dead spot between the end of summer league and then up to a couple weeks ago. So now that we're back in the full swing of the regular season, you should hear from us more. Follow Damo on Twitter, my podcast partner. If you guys don't follow him, Damo8186, I'm sure you guys follow him more than you follow me. But in case you don't, make sure you check him out. He's one of the more knowledgeable Wizards fans that we are blessed to see his takes. So, for sure. Yeah, if you guys have a podcast platform and you don't see Wizards Gallery Place on there, please let me know and I'll see what I can do about putting it up there. But you can find it on most podcast platforms.
Yeah, definitely go check that out. Again, the preseason preview was really good and look forward to more of those throughout the season and look forward to doing more of these together throughout the year. So thank you for joining me for both of these tonight. That's a true fan and friend here for doing back-to-backs.
Absolutely. There's no one else I'd rather be doing this more than with you, my friend. Good talk.
All right. Appreciate everybody listening to this. If you can do us a solid and hit that like button for us on YouTube, we always appreciate that. If you haven't subscribed yet, we're trying to get this thing over 1,000 subscribers. That's when you start cooking in the YouTube algorithm. So help us, help other Wizards fans, get through this shared experience this year. For the Wizards, their next 2 games are against the Atlanta Hawks. They play at Atlanta on Monday night at 7:30 p.m. That's 10:28. And the Hawks are then in Washington on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. So that's 10:30. So, October 30th. Sorry, I should say that, not to confuse everybody. But yeah, check us out. And we'll have more of these to go for both of these games. So we'll be back with more Department of Hoops presented by betonline.ag. And we will catch y'all next time.